There are people who walk into a room and something just shifts. Nobody can quite explain it. They haven't said anything impressive yet. They might not even be the best dressed, but there's a weight to them, a stillness. And without thinking about it, you trust them more. You listen when they speak, and you want to know what they think. And then there are people who are trying very hard to have that effect, adjusting their vocabulary, working on their posture, reading every book about confidence, and it's just not landing the same way. Not because they're less intelligent or less capable, but because value is not performed, it's perceived. And perception is shaped by signals that happen way below the level of conscious thought, long before anyone has had a chance to evaluate your achievements or your qualifications. The people who naturally command respect in a room are not necessarily the smartest, the most experienced, or the most accomplished. They just understand something about how human psychology actually works, something most people never learn because it's never explicitly taught. They've learned to communicate status through regulation, through what they don't do as much as what they do. Today, I'm going to give you 6 of these habits. All of them are silent. None of them are about being louder, more charismatic, or more impressive. And number 6 is the anchor, the one that makes the other 5 work. Without it, you have 5 individual tools. With it, you have a system. Don't skip it. Before we get into the 6 habits, one thing needs to be understood clearly, because without this, the habits look like tricks, and they're not tricks. Your nervous system communicates before your words do. Before you've opened your mouth in a room, the people around you have already received data about you. Are you calm or activated? Settled or scanning? Comfortable with silence or filling it urgently? None of this is logical. It's biological. Human brains are wired to read threat and safety, dominance and deference in fractions of a second. This processing happens automatically in the subcortical regions of the brain before conscious analysis kicks in. What this means is that your presence, your perceived value, your authority, your trustworthiness is largely decided before the conversation begins. And the 6 habits in this video all work on that pre-verbal, pre-logical layer. This is not about playing a character or projecting confidence you don't feel. It's about training specific patterns of behavior that, when practiced consistently, genuinely change how your nervous system operates in social situations. And that internal change is what people pick up on. You can't fake it convincingly long-term, but you can build it. Here's how. The 6 silent habits. Habit 01. They are comfortable being misunderstood, and they don't rush to correct it. When someone misinterprets what you said or gets the wrong idea about who you are, the immediate instinct is to fix it. Clarify, defend, explain, take back control of the narrative. And that instinct makes complete sense emotionally. But here's what it signals to everyone watching. Urgency. The faster and harder you rush to protect your image, the more fragile that image appears. The brain reads urgency as insecurity, and insecurity reads as low status. Not because the person watching is judging you consciously, but because their brain is running its automatic threat and safety assessment. People who are genuinely secure in themselves do not scramble. When someone misunderstands them, they assess. Is this misunderstanding actually important in this situation? Does correcting it move anything forward? If yes, they clarify, briefly, calmly, without defensiveness. If not, they let it go. They trust that their actual behavior over time will correct the record, and they don't need to manage every person's impression of them in real time. The psychological effect this creates is striking. Calm certainty reads as authority. The person who doesn't need you to understand them correctly right now appears far more grounded than the person who needs it immediately. Stability ranks higher than likability in the hierarchy your brain is constantly computing beneath awareness. Habit 02. They respond. They don't react. And that half-second difference is everything. Reaction is what happens when your nervous system is in charge. Response is what happens when you are. And in any high-stakes social moment, someone challenging your position, interrupting you, asking a sharp question, subtly questioning your competence, the question that matters most is not who is right. It is who is composed. Nobody in the room consciously scores this, but everyone feels it. The person who tightens first, who speeds up their speech, who gets slightly defensive, that person has just communicated something about their internal state. The person who slows down, pauses, breathes, answers evenly, that person has demonstrated executive control. And executive control reads as leadership potential, cognitive strength, and trustworthiness in ways that no resume ever could. This is trainable. The practice is simple. In moments of tension, slow down by 20%. Not to the point of awkward pause, just slightly slower than your instinct wants to go. That micro delay signals that you are processing, not reacting, that you are choosing your response rather than being pulled into one. Over time, this becomes automatic, and what people describe as presence is often just this: a nervous system that has been trained to stay regulated when others start to destabilize. Habit 3. They don't make themselves instantly available to everyone, and it's not about playing games. Instant availability sends a signal, not a conscious one, but a real one. When you respond to everything immediately, drop your plans whenever someone asks, and never have a schedule that seems to actually matter, your presence begins to feel low cost. And low cost reads as low value, regardless of how genuinely capable you are. This is not about being cold. It's not about ignoring people or manufacturing false scarcity. It's about structuring your time in a way that actually reflects that your time has value. High-value individuals don't reply impulsively to every message. They don't cancel their plans for last-minute requests that could have been planned ahead. They operate from deliberate allocation, not reflexive availability. The psychological effect is subtle but real. When access to someone feels somewhat limited, not impossible, not cold, just structured, interactions with them carry more weight. People prepare more when they know your time is not unlimited. They treat conversations with you more carefully. They value the exchange more because they can feel that it isn't just handed out to whoever asks first. Boundaries elevate status. Unrestricted access dilutes it, not because it's manipulative, because it's accurate. Your time is finite. When you act like it isn't, you're giving people false information about your actual value. Habit 4. Their body speaks calmly when everything else is loud, and the room feels it. Your body is always communicating, before you say a word, during pauses, in the micro movements you make when you're slightly uncomfortable or seeking reassurance without realizing it. People are extraordinarily good at reading these signals, even when they can't articulate what they're reading. Under pressure, most people do the same things. They speak faster, move more, shift their posture, blink more rapidly, break eye contact in ways that signal discomfort. None of this is wrong, it's just automatic, but it leaks information that your words might be trying to conceal. The habit here is physical stillness under tension. Slowing your breath intentionally when the room gets intense. Relaxing your jaw, a place where most people hold enormous tension without knowing it. Keeping your gestures unhurried. Staying grounded in your posture rather than leaning or pulling back. This isn't about looking cool. It's about the neurological effect on everyone around you. The least visibly threatened person in a room reads as the most secure. And security, not aggression, not loudness, not forced confidence, is what the brain codes as dominant. What we casually call presence is often just disciplined physical regulation. Habit 05. They don't compete for attention because they don't need it. Watch any group of people in a social situation and you'll see the same patterns playing out. People interrupting to make sure their voice is included.
Talking over pauses so the silence doesn't cost them anything. Laughing a little too readily. Agreeing a little too quickly. Performing engagement because disengagement feels risky. All of this is attention-seeking behavior, and it's extremely common. It's also a signal, clear to everyone watching, even if nobody says it out loud, that this person needs external validation to feel okay in this room. High-value individuals do not do this. Not because they've disciplined themselves into cold detachment, but because they're genuinely okay not being at the center. They speak when they have something to say. They let silence sit when it's comfortable. They don't interrupt because they've learned that the words they do say carry significantly more weight precisely because they don't say many. There's a psychological law at work here. When everyone is talking, the person who speaks selectively becomes magnetic. Noise fades. Selective input stands out. Silence, used with comfort rather than anxiety, creates a kind of gravity. People lean toward it. Habit 06, the one that makes all 5 permanent. They are willing to walk away from unequal exchanges without making it a performance. This is the anchor habit, the one that makes the other 5 real rather than practiced. Here's the moment that defines perceived value more clearly than anything else. The moment you show that you are genuinely willing to lose an interaction, not because you're trying to appear powerful, but because you've established internally that your self-worth is not tied to whether this particular exchange works out. When someone consistently disrespects you, underestimates you, violates boundaries you've clearly set, the low-value response is to argue, to try to convince them of your worth, to chase resolution, to explain yourself one more time. And most of us know this pattern from the inside, the desperate need to make them see it, to get them to acknowledge it, to feel valued by the specific person who isn't valuing you. The high-value response is different. You assess once. You address it once, clearly and without drama. And if the pattern continues, you withdraw. Quietly, without an announcement, without an emotional explosion, without needing their acknowledgement of why you're leaving. The moment someone can feel that you are willing to walk away, not as a strategy, but genuinely, because you have internalized the belief that you will be okay without this, the entire power dynamic in the relationship shifts. Dependence lowers status. Independence elevates it. Not because people are deliberately rewarding you for being cold, but because the human brain reads non-attachment as abundance. And abundance has always read as high value. This is why it's the anchor. All 6 habits are expressions of the same internal architecture: self-regulation. Not dominance, not coldness, not performance. Regulation. When you regulate your reactions, your time, your words, your body, your need for approval, your willingness to stay in unequal situations, you stabilize your identity. And a stable identity is what everyone in the room is responding to when they describe someone as having presence or authority or just something about them. External polish, better clothes, sharper vocabulary, higher volume confidence, cannot override internal instability. The brain feels the instability through the leaks, the urgency, the over-explaining, the performance, the need. Value rises from the inside first. When you stop chasing approval, you become the kind of person who others find genuinely trustworthy. When you stop reacting automatically, you become the kind of person people actually listen to. When you stop making yourself constantly available, you become the kind of person others want access to. These are not tricks. They are accurate expressions of who you are when you are genuinely centered rather than performing centeredness. Build the center. The perception follows. The person you've always admired for their calm, their presence, their ability to hold a room without trying. They didn't start that way. They built it. Through exactly the kind of small, consistent,
unspectacular behavioral choices we've talked about today. One moment at a time. One interaction at a time. One choice not to over-explain, not to react, not to chase approval. You don't need to master all 6 of these today. Pick one. The one that resonated most deeply. The one where you thought, that's exactly what I've been doing, and I've felt the cost of it. Start there. Practice it for 1 week and watch what changes, not just in how others respond to you, but in how you feel inside the interactions. The shift you're looking for isn't in the room, it's in you, and it's already closer than you think.
Drop in the comments which habit you're starting with and why. Not for me, for you. Writing it down activates a different part of your brain than just thinking it. It makes it more real. It makes it more likely to happen. And someone reading your comment tomorrow morning might need exactly that specific habit named before they recognize it in themselves. Share this with someone you know who's been working hard to be taken more seriously and not quite getting the result they're putting in the effort for. The problem is almost never their effort. It's usually one of these 6 things. Send it to them. It might be the explanation they've been looking for.